I can't hide it any longer. I didn't want to speak up about this because I didn't want to lose my mutuals, my online friends, part of the leftist community. But permanent revolution is more important than that. And I can stand to see the lies and the counterproductive discourse that only involves tankies, social democrats, so if you're left of anything, you're a tanky, liberals, weirdly antagonistic anarchists, mostly North Americans, and libertarian communists. But I feel it's time to raise awareness. It's time to be visible and use our voice. And so this is why I am coming out as a Trotskyist. So what is Trotskyism? It can be very loosely defined, and since his death, there has been multiple splits and schisms. But here is what makes Trotskyism different than other Marxist ideologies. One is international revolution and socialism. One of the biggest things in the Russian Revolution, and one of the reasons why Trotsky opposed Stalin so much, and we'll get into that later, was that Stalin basically argued for socialism under one country. Have your socialist revolution and then start taking over other countries and force that socialist revolution upon them. I wouldn't call it a form of imperialism, but at the same time, it did create what I would call social patriotism, socialist patriotism, Soviet patriotism. It was very much encouraged by him. It was a reactionary thing. Lenin himself argued for the self-determination, such as countries under imperialism and colonization. This is what he said about Soviet nationalism. He deemed it as being reactionary, a bourgeoisie creation, and contrary to the interests of proletarian class and communist revolution. So international socialism is solidarity across the working class and to allow self-governing. And this internationalism, I believe, has affected modern Trotskyists, or some of them call themselves Orthodox Marxists, really, whatever name, which has allowed for them to look out into the world, to look into anti-imperialism, to support revolutionary parties in places like Latin America. And that sometimes is severely lacking in the discourse of online leftism, unless otherwise used as some sort of prop to own the lives or something, I don't know. Is the belief that there should be mass democracy, mass worker democracy. A huge criticism that he had of the Soviet Union was the centralization of power and ever-increasing bureaucracy under Stalin. Stalin was a brilliant bureaucrat. Bureaucrat does have a very distasteful connotation, but to deny that he was pretty, he managed to gain power and was really good at doing the stuff no one else wanted to do, and all these things, but bureaucracy takes away the power from the workers and from the people. I think it would be dishonest to talk about the smearing and propaganda against Trotsky if we didn't mention a key element, and that is that he was Jewish. Trotsky himself was an atheist. He found religion to be something that changed the masses to a false sense of hope and can prevent revolutionary action from taking place. Regardless, he was an ethnic Jew, and there is this propaganda poster, and I'm going to show it to you right now. It has Trotsky drawn as with bloodlust and the Star of David, and just this terrifying thing that brings aliens with it. If you look down, there's this very racistly drawn Chinese man, and China at the time was also fighting its own civil war for a communist uprising, and the White Army had no qualms about using something so blatantly anti-Semitic. But during so Russia had been anti-Semitic for years. Not that it makes it any better. And under Stalin, there was a lot of repression. There was a lot of repression of Jews in the Soviet Union. There is this rumor, I'm not sure if it's true, but that apparently Lenin's sister told Stalin to tell the public that Lenin is actually Jewish, that his grandfather had to hide his Jewishness and became a crypto Jew. 1 second, I am very interested in crypto Jews and all this stuff, and we can talk about that if you want a video about it. Anyway, Stalin said no, and to keep that letter a secret. So, and looking at neo-Nazis nowadays, I think the trend continues. I think that is a danger to watch out for. A new Netflix series, or maybe it was done about 3 years ago, it's called Trotsky, banned by critics for being very revisionist, painting Trotsky, again as with white propaganda, as a bloodthirsty general of the Red Army. Which really, if it wasn't for him, maybe the whites would be in power. Who knows? But this idea that he was a bloodthirsty man just keeps coming and coming and coming and coming. And even though he was very polemic, sometimes you can see Trotsky was actually a very kind person. But anyway, this show, I haven't watched it. I don't think I can watch it without maybe having an aneurysm. If anyone wants to watch it, let me know. But it just, even the producers were like, we don't want to make a historical show. We want to make an exciting show. Thing that also really made my adherence to grow to Trotsky and the Trotskyites met was this consciousness for anti-imperialism. Being an immigrant, I hadn't experienced anything of that like that. No one in the online left had mentioned it yet. It was as if we didn't care. But they knew. There was a time when Bolivia had the coup d'etat. It triggered something in me, and I was really depressed. No matter where I went, no matter how many political groups I hung out with or activists, no one said anything. Till one day I walked into this store, and there are people there making signs and protests against what's happening in Bolivia. And they tell me about Trotsky. And I tell them I like him too. Though my reason that I got into Trotsky was because I'm like, for a communist, I do not get well with others. And apparently Lenin's the same thing about Trotsky. But another one, it is just fight against fascism, fight against some imperialism. Trotskyists are for a united left, and I think we can do it. But we do not compromise and to make friends with fascists, like liberals want to do, like weird far left-wing Stalinists and tankies want to do. It's a rule that can't be broken. It's as if the story of fascism is not known. The story of the Red Brown Alliance, what happens at the end. Always fascists, Nazis will see you as a political enemy, even if you're not worried about race or anything like that. And Trotsky always asked so many of his followers, and to this day, are protective of international policy, are conscious about United States imperialism, especially in Latin America. And there's this book that I have. I'll put the link, Leon Trotskyist Ideas by Helen Gilbert. You can also find most of Trotsky's, Marx, Lenin's writing, Engels on Marx's archive. There's Marxist.com. I will put the right address, don't worry. Hey everyone, I kind of screwed up. I was going to read what it says here on video, so I'm just going to read it right now. These are really just what I believe, a summary of what Trotskyism is. 1. Adherence to the revolutionary traditions of Marx and Lenin. 2. Permanent revolution as a strategy for backwards country in the age of imperialism. 3. The necessity for international socialism. And 4. Proletarian democracy, the right of a party minority to express its opinion while observing solidarity in action.